There's so much diversity in surfing today. I mean, nowadays you can be a pro tour hero, sexy surf girl, a counterculture soul master, or a small wave aerial wizard, or any one of a great number of surf subspecies. But whatever you ride and however you go about riding it, being a surfer has always meant that you're one of the elite. You're like a dry land creature who's at home within the deadly ocean. I think it's that idea of being comfortable in an environment where the average person is completely terrified that helps give surfing its mystique. And of course, that hedonistic lifestyle certainly doesn't hurt either. When I got into surfing back in the 1970s, I was attracted to two things: that adrenaline charge of big waves, and the second was the whole notion of surfing exploration. I mean, back then, those were two really different categories. Big wave surfing only existed in Hawaii on the North Shore, where waves of 30 or 40 feet on the face was the outside limit of what was humanly possible to ride. It seemed at the time like all the best perfect little point breaks had been found long ago back in the day of the endless summer. But everything we thought we knew about riding waves flew out the window in the 1990s as new technology triggered a full-blown revolution in the sport of surfing. For the first time, advances in weather forecasting made it possible to accurately know the where and when of big waves. And that led to new surf spots being discovered that turned out to be just as big or maybe even bigger than any of the waves in Hawaii. But at the same time, the development of powerful personal watercraft, the jet skis, and new ways of using them were allowing surfers to get to and catch waves that were far bigger than anything they ever could have paddled into. In a few short seasons, everything had changed. Suddenly the impossible was now possible. Waves were being ridden that were 50 or 60 or 70 feet on the face. The old limits were erased. All the biggest mountains were climbed 50 years ago, and the North and South Poles had been reached 100 years ago. But to me, there was only one great superlative nature left to be achieved, and that's riding the biggest wave in the world. So I had this idea: what if we put together a team of the best big wave surfers in the world and went out there looking for it? That was the idea behind the Billabong Odyssey. This was going to take a whole new approach to going surfing. New equipment, new techniques, and a whole new approach to teamwork. When it came time to select the surfers for the Odyssey, I started with Mike Parsons and Brad Gerlach, who I'd known since they had been rivals on the competition circuit.
I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I know we're going to Jaws, but after that, I don't know where we're going.
We've been searching the globe for years on the tour, looking for perfect waves, but we've never looked for perfect big waves. I mean, no one's ever flown with planes and helicopters and checked the whole coast and looked at the ocean floor.
For pure energy, I had to invite the Santa Cruz boys: Flea, Barney, Skin Dog, and Loya. I also wanted to include the experience of Ken Bradshaw, a legendary big wave rider well known for some of the biggest waves ever ridden during the big El Nino swell on Oahu. And Lane Beachley, the 5-time world champ and by far the best female big wave surfer alive. There should be a heavy right-hander. Let me know. Before this group was going to be ready for the Billabong Odyssey, they needed to go to school. And there was only one teacher for this kind of class: the man who invented the use of the Wave Runner as a life-saving device, Hawaiian waterman Brian Kealana.
I'm from the west coast of Oahu in Hawaii. As far back as I can remember, all I see is the ocean and the water.
Hawaiians always respected the ocean as a living, breathing entity, that has life, and you would give the respect back to the entity by understanding the beauty and the beasts. It's not something that I challenge or I'll do battle with, and that's giving respect, that's giving the ultimate respect to what the ocean can give. My father taught us how to fish, dive, sail, surf. So growing up in the ocean, you tend to help other people, along the way. Any waterman is really a lifeguard.
Traditionally, when we lifeguard, it's with the traditional tools such as swim fins, rescue tubes, and rescue paddleboards. I teach ocean survival, I teach risk management, all applied using the personal watercrafts or the jet skis. It gives us the power to match the surf, to outrun it, to create safety, because safety doesn't exist in an environment like that. I never depend on a machine, I depend on myself. If you put yourself in a heavy situation, then you better make sure that you can get out of it without the machine.
train specifically, that's what you're training for. You're training for those big wave hold downs or being impacted, like being hit by a Mack truck. It's all about managing those dangers, managing those risks, to create safety.
We do underwater rock running where you, in the same kind of tumbling experience in big waves, but except you're in a controllable environment where I can drop that rock and swim to the surface. I practice extreme safety to do extreme things. I balance myself. The thing about tow surfing is, surfing is the easy part. Surviving is the hard part. So that's the thing they gotta focus on. First, learn how to survive so you can surf better.
The Billabong Odyssey gave me the opportunity to gather all the best big wave surfers all in one place and to teach them what I know about jet ski rescues.
So early in the morning, such a bro down already.
We all made up in Cape Disappointment for a week.
All right, welcome everyone. This is the beginning of the Billabong Odyssey, our first gathering of what's going to be a 3-year project to go out and scour the oceans of this globe to find the biggest waves that exist and go out and ride them.
It was pretty cool to see all in guys all in one place. Different big wave surfers from all these different spots talking about their stories, trading informations and things like that. Ken Bradshaw, Mike Parsons, Brad Gerlach, the Santa Cruz boys, Flea, Barney, Josh Lawyer, Skin Dog.
Anybody up for jumping in the water after this? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Boots, fins.
These guys are the best big wave surfers in the world. Nobody needs to teach them how to surf. It's surviving that's the trick.
The best way to learn is watch everyone else, because you might learn the good and the bad, the key points of grabbing, picking up, going slow.
I have the ultimate respect for Brian Kailana and his team. They spend every day in the water training. To me, those guys are the ultimate watermen in the world.
Brian showed me a lot of procedures in picking up people. That's what he helped me out with.
We're gonna practice unconscious.
Some of my friends have died surfing, and I get more scared of a friend, dying or drowning right there in front of me, That scares me.
Tow surfing only came on the scene a few years ago, so it's still evolving. A lot of guys been trying things out by themselves with different equipment, heel straps, tow ropes. But Odyssey gave us the chance to compare notes for the first time. It was a great training ground for everyone to learn about one another, to build trust and respect as a group. Meeting up with United States Coast Guard, having them bringing us out into the environment, into the surf, showing us their equipment and what they use and how they operate was such a great privilege. We picked Cape Disappointment because of heavy winds, cold water, big surf, all these natural hazards that you need when you're training in worst case scenarios.
So windy and rainy,
Visibility's bad and lots of side waves and a lot of closeouts. I think there's a high probability of us dropping somebody out there and losing them. So I highly recommend everybody to have their fins on.
Because of the current, the way I'm thinking too, work with the elements rather than against them. Go up like this, drop the guy off, go find that buoy, come back, find your guy, come back here. As surfers, their understanding of competition, drives each surfer to be better.
But everyone's competitive in their ways, Basically, this comes down to a competitive contest to try to find the biggest wave, and simulating little contests and practices, definitely ups your adrenaline.
Surfing has always been a solitary experience. So surfers are usually relying on themselves as individuals, not as a team. pro surfing is more about teamwork and communication. You know, we try to develop, you know, a lot of different exercises to train them more as a team and show them the importance about communication. It can literally mean the difference between life and death.
I feel really good about being in Big Surf with Brad. You know, we have these systems in place, and when a problem happens now, we're able to react with a plan. As before, we just react on the moment.
Brian taught us so much, and definitely we're a better team. If Brian's in the water, I feel totally safe.
Yeah! Can't even see out there.
I have a lot of respect for Brian, and having the training camp was really huge for me.
We're going to take a leadership role in demonstrating the importance of safety in the future of big wave surfing. Now, I realize that all of you have very busy schedules. There may be some expeditions here that you're not going to be able to come along on. We'll do our best to accommodate all of you, but it's going to be improvisational. We don't know when or where we're going. The only thing that we do know is that we'll be going to surf Jaws. We'll be participating in the Tow-In World Cup, very important event for us. And we're also not going to miss any big swell at the breaks that we already know and love. I want to thank everyone once again for participating. And I want you to realize, as much fun as we've had doing this, that the next time we get together, it's going to be serious.
If you look in my backyard right now, you're going to see that this is one of the gnarliest storms that hit the coast of California. And somewhere there's going to be a cusp where it'll be clean weather and big waves. I could be on a plane taking off tonight, trying to find that window of opportunity.
You know, it looks like a really big swell, so I'm just trying to get all my junk ready. We're going to blaze down to Todos, and hopefully the swell will be hitting down there. I think it's going to be good. I got a feeling.
Suddenly, we've got to get to Todos Santos Island off of Ensenada, Mexico. We've got less than 24 hours to get there, and we've got to be totally sure that we don't leave anything behind. This is going to be the perfect test scenario for the Billabong Odyssey. Todos Santos is a great place to go ride big waves because a lot of times you'll get these big storms that'll slam the west coast, but Todos is a little bit south out of the main path of those storms. It's an island that just sits out in the ocean about 9 miles off Ensenada.
The boards might not make it.
We're not going to make that flight. Do you want to still use us?
So we got down there early, and we were pretty amped to get out. Skin Dog and Loy and those guys weren't there yet, and we just started blazing out there. But the thing about Todos is it's way out in the middle of the ocean and you need a GPS. At the very least, you need a compass. It's pretty sketchy when the fog rolls in. When we heard the Odyssey was going to Todos, we were on it because that's our spot. We've been surfing there for years, and I'm sure Skinny and Josh and Flea and those guys feel the same way about Mavericks. It's your stomping ground, and we never want to miss a good day at Todos. Well, there's a couple different methods of tow surfing because it's still relatively new. There's the old windsurfing method where we would just track the wave, and the ski would actually go in front of the surfer and down the wave. We found out that the wake would get in your way, and it actually made it pretty dangerous because the ski would also be in front of the wave. So what we started doing is towing from behind the peak, where you actually track the wave and the ski would kick out over the top, and you get a bunch of tension on the rope, and you let go with a lot of speed, and we found that this worked a lot better.
You get the physics of the torque. It goes whoop, and it whips the guy down the face.
Out at Todos, our favorite thing to do is actually come straight at the wave, and what you do is turn the ski about 30 yards in front of it, and you get whipped from about 10 to 50 miles an hour instantly, and it's incredible the amount of speed you get. It's something you would never experience at paddle surfing. We were stoked to see the Mavericks guys show up because there's a bit of a rivalry between Todos and Mavericks, and they're always talking like, Todos is no big deal. Mavericks is way heavier than Todos.
You see the set approaching, thinking to yourself, like, what am I getting myself into? Why am I doing this? Your heart starts pumping, and you get that hunger, and then all of a sudden you realize why you want it, because you need it, and it's like a drug.
I like Todos the most because it's consistently big and uncrowded. It's normally just me and my friends out there surfing. Mavericks is certainly a heavier wave than Todos, but any big wave will get your attention if you wipe out in the wrong spot. I tell you what, Skin Dog got slammed on one of the biggest waves of the day out there.
It just buried me. When that thing hit me, it was like getting in a car wreck. It hit me so hard and fast that my back felt like it completely tacoed. I felt like my feet hit me in the head, and then that thing just ragdolled me a couple hundred yards.
Bringing all the guys together was also a great aspect of it, because we're going to be out there in competition, but yet we're all going to have to be looking out for each other.
It's just so incredible the things we're doing now. I'm definitely having the time of my life. Anytime there was ever a problem, I'd run dive in the ocean and everything would be okay. It's really still that way for me today. It's the one place where I can go and be alone and the world seems right. I think my whole life I've been trying to get there as much as I can. I wasn't a very good student, but I could always jump in the water and feel good about everything. Once I jumped on a surfboard and started competing, I absolutely loved it right off the bat. I wanted to win really bad at everything I ever did.
Mike would study the waves, he'd go to bed at 9. We're two different personalities. I was kind of a cocky little kid. I was really into just partying and going out late at night, and I don't know, I was kind of rock and roll.
The 80s surfing really took off like everything else.
The 80s showed that there was a lot of people out there that were really interested in surfing. Right when I turned pro is when money started coming in. We were all about getting out there and making a name for ourselves.
We started to get sponsors and corporate America started looking at it. Everyone started to take notice, and it looked like a future for anyone who was going to do good in it.
When you're 18 years old, if you've got talent and you've got a personality, you can be a star. I was out of high school and I was traveling around the world and there was chicks. It was pretty killer.
I saw the contest as a challenge and really a lot of fun. I was having the best time of my life.
I didn't get along with the establishment. They wanted me to be a kind of a cookie cutter type and I just wasn't into it. And he was everything that embodied that cookie cutter thing. And I felt bad if I didn't beat him. I'd be like, God, if I don't beat that guy, I got problems.
Every time I'd show up, all I cared about was beating Brad. We just developed this rivalry.
I always thought, God, guy doesn't have a sense of humor. Like, I thought he was totally different than the way he is.
What do you think of the competition? It really comes down to the guys who compete better because there's so many guys that surf great.
Felt so good just to dominate out there. The waves, that's the feeling that I live for.
I had been doing the tour and competing every weekend for 15 years, but I never got as high as Brad. Brad got all the way to second in the world and just quit out of nowhere.
I just had enough.
I continued to compete, but I was always looking for something bigger, something new. Surfing at Todos Santos, that's really where I learned how to surf big waves.
He's been a consistent big wave rider since he was a young guy.
Over the last 4 years, we started becoming good friends. We started surfing at Todos Santos.
We had so much in common. We had a whole history of stuff to laugh about.
All those years of competing, we developed that respect for each other through time.
He is so different from me, but yet we complement each other.
We argued like crazy the first couple years of towing because he's a total perfectionist and so am I. We'll make a mistake and, you idiot, what are you doing? And we just practice and practice and practice.
I mean, if we're going to go out on these adventures, I mean, we have to know that we're going to be able to save each other.
We started towing into 10-foot waves and then gradually just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Next thing you know, he's like, hey man, we're going to Cortez, you know? It's like, we are?
The ultimate place for tow surfing is a place like Cortez Bank. It's a seamount 105 miles out in the middle of the ocean.
What? Holy shit.
You guys want to anchor it? It's like walking on the moon, you know? You're doing something that no one's ever done before.
By the time we all started heading over there with our boards and kind of got into position, you know, the wind just started slowly settling down and these really big sets started coming through, and as time went by, it just got better and better.
The waves are so big and we were going so fast. It was the fastest I'd ever been on a surfboard.
And he had just had this big, beautiful tube.
You have to hang high. Maybe you can outrace it, you know?
I was starting to get a little antsy. I was like, okay, girl, I gotta get one. What if the wind comes up?
When it was my turn to drive him, I was like, watch this. This is how you put your board into the wave.
I remember thinking to myself, don't be a pussy, you know, and next thing I know, I'm sitting on top of this thing going, whoa, you might have faded too far. And I kicked out of that wave and realized that was the ride of my life. I had this huge rush come over me. I was like, that was just an unbelievable feeling.
People said, there's no waves out there. You know, you can't go 100 miles out to sea and, you know, find a perfect surfable wave that's bigger than anything anyone's ever seen. Yet we did it. Got national attention. It was the front page of the LA Times.
70-foot waves? How about waves 100 feet high? Our surfers are looking for some right now as part of a worldwide surfing competition called the Billabong Odyssey.
At the annual XXL ceremony, Mike's Cortez wave won the award for Biggest of the Year, cementing his position amongst the elite of the sport and guaranteeing places for both he and Brad on the Billabong Odyssey. Mike may have ridden the biggest wave of 2001, but some believe the all-time biggest wave was ridden by Ken Bradshaw.
Biggest Wednesday, January 28th, 1998. Yes, still the biggest waves I've ever ridden. It was a culmination of 30 years of surfing. All that you've lived for and dreamed about and strived for, all of a sudden, there it was. It was that day. I actually started surfing in Texas. Of all places, the world has a hard time understanding that I started surfing in Texas. I was, 13 years old. I was playing football, track, other sports, baseball. But surfing had created a spark of passion that was unique. It was an individual sport in a world that was so encumbered, so regimented in the 60s. Surfing was freedom. No rules, no regulations. I ran away from home twice. The first time I was 15 years old, got my surfboard, and I was headed to the beach, and I was headed for Puerto Rico. Father was looking for me, so we put out a lot of messages on surf shops, and I finally called him back, and we resolved it for the time being. But the following year, I went ahead and moved to California at 16, and started my life in California being a surfer. This was 1969. Just happened to be the best winter California ever had, and I thought that's what surfing was all about. Surfing, double and triple times overhead waves, but California was short-lived. And I said, that's it, I gotta go to Hawaii. One day I finally got enough money together, enough time together, and I actually went to Hawaii and took one swell and go, holy cow. I don't know why size has always been important to me, but I really enjoy big waves. It's truly a test on your ability to surf. It takes passion, it takes desire to make yourself go over that ledge, to risk everything to catch that wave. The big waves started getting so crowded that I started losing interest in surfing Waimea because it got to be a joke. And then the whole tow surfing thing started. And then it was like, wow. efficiency of tow surfing over paddle and surfing is like, I don't know, 20 to 1.
We can ride any wave we ever dreamed of riding. We can now access waves we would see in the distance, and how can we get to them when Waimea is closing out and every inside break is closing out and you can't penetrate that whitewater. There's no way you're going to get through it. Now we can get through it.
It's so exciting to be on the forefront of this. It's just, what a great time to be surfing.
Sean Collins at Surfline has created a program called Lola, which takes all the different bits of information that's available about what the weather's doing and what it may do, and give us a pretty accurate indication of what's going to happen. Lola is quite sophisticated because it tracks all the different components of the swell. You've got the swell height, you've got the swell direction, and you've got the swell period. That's the distance between the peaks of a wave train. We're able to track the swell period through the use of weather buoys. There's a network of them in the oceans all around the world. Since the trip to Todos Santos, the Pacific Ocean has kind of died out, but what we've noticed in the last couple of days is the Atlantic Ocean is starting to fire up. We've got an intense tropical low and an intense Arctic low are coming together, and it's showing that 35-foot seas are going to be created and they're heading towards France and Spain. We want to head off to Mundaka, Spain, where there's an outer island that no one has ever surfed before, and give it a shot.
It's pretty neat to be able to look at a map of the world and go, oh, there's a huge storm here. You know, get a phone call, be sitting on my couch in California and be in France the next day. I got a call from Bill Sharp, and he said, "What, what's your schedule like next week?" And I said, I'm ready to go. What's up?" And he just said, "Well, there's a huge low, and there is this wave in Spain, and maybe a wave in France." And I was like, "Let's go. We're out of here."
3 days ago, I was in Hawaii, get the call to come to Spain. 3 days later, I'm here, ready to surf, I guess, the biggest swell in 5 years. Buoys are like 28 feet for the next 12 hours, so I'm sure there'll be some waves to surf. And you know what's great is I've never been to Mundaka, so I got another world-class wave checked off my list of surf spots.
So what's the deal, guys?
It's just not many waves. Bumpy and not big enough.
They're saying the direction of the swell is so west that it's going sideways past Spain and hitting France harder. And so we're going to go check it out and make sure that, if France is bigger, we're on it.
We're the delta force of surfing. It's just, when we need to move, we can do it. We can move all the people, all the support equipment, and get any place on the globe within 48 hours.
Humans wanted, we're competitive people, so we all want to get the biggest wave. You just got to, make sure that you grab the rope or you do things right, when you're doing it.
Not quite as big as we
right here
originally flew over for, but we'll take it.
Hossegger was not a beach break that we're familiar with. Beach breaks are just so unpredictable for channels. That's the thing about Mavericks and Todos. We have the channel, and that's the safety zone for us. But beach breaks that are huge, there's no safety zone. Barney pulled me in this pretty big wave, and There's no place for me that's safe except for the barrel. So I'm just pulling into this barrel, and I couldn't make it out of a burning house. My whole neck cracked, and my life vest gets torn over my head, and the jersey's over my face, and I'm underwater, and I'm getting work. Definitely the biggest beach break I ever towed.
Flea came in and fueled up and went back out and punched right through a big wave, but he made it. When you have waves breaking right on the sand, getting the ski back out is one of those tricky, challenging things. It doesn't always go perfect. Our timing was bad. As soon as we went out, a big set of head-high waves breaking right on the sand came at the same time. And the boat just got an inch sideways. Once it gets sideways, then it's an 800-pound bowling ball, running in and out of the surf, and it could kill someone easily. We weren't able to get it going, and another wave broke and turned upside down.
Yeah, it was pretty big out there. If we could have just found some sort of reef break, I mean, we had plenty of groundswell, but that's the thing about beach breaks is, that you really need something to get that swell to jump up. I mean, we had a huge swell out there. It was some of the biggest beach break we've ever surfed, but if we had a place like Toto Santos or, Cortez Bank or something that would have made, the waves double or triple in size, it would have been incredible.
Actually, some of the French locals we've been hanging out with showed us a spot nearby they called Belhara, but the conditions on that day weren't quite right. A few months later, the conditions were right, and the locals were on it, making it clear that Europe will play a significant role in the future exploration of big waves. France's towing pioneers, surfers like Fred Bass, Sebastian St. John, and Peyu Lizarazu, are all pretty mellow characters. They're older, soft-spoken guys who prefer to let their surfing do the talking. And while a spot like Mavericks might have a reef that's somewhat similar to Belhara, the top surfers at the two spots couldn't be more different. Ready to surf all day and party all night? Meet the Santa Cruz boys.
The funny thing about our group is that we grew up with each other, surfed together all our lives, and bickered and fought, and there was rivalries. We can't think you're the shit because someone will come over and pop your bubble, but it was funny because we're just like the little rascals surfing.
Flea, Skin Dog, Loya, we used to skateboard to school, then we'd go surf. I mean, we're just the full beach rats. It was just an incredible life.
Flea was just a kid, and I used to take every wave from him. And then one day, they're like 16, I'm trying to burn him, and Barney just an air over me. I'm like, oh my God, the tables have turned. Flea and Barney all of a sudden went from just doing little off lifts to doing airs and doing big airs and in your face surfing. it's contagious. It's like the next level.
People in Santa Cruz push the limits of aerial surfing, and we want to do futuristic maneuvers.
Before Mavericks, radical surfing was our focus point. And then all of a sudden, we hear about Mavericks. That was in '91. There was a whole different world to explore.
What is the heaviest? What is the biggest? And what is the most deadliest? Mavericks is definitely the coldest, spookiest, creepiest. You show up there, any swell, and there's just lights, camera, action, noise, distractions, people. Mavericks is such a circus. That is the show right there. That wave itself.
Big was, steamer lane, 10, 12 feet, that's pretty big. When we saw Mavericks after seeing the lane, we're like, okay, it's 60 feet, it's huge, and it definitely changed our perception of big. We had this jewel in our backyard. When you're pulling up into a barrel of Mavericks and, you're in there and you're seeing this thing shaking over you, and you're like, oh, Mac, and all of a sudden it's like an earthquake and the house is falling down. There's only one open door, and there it is. You're like, oh, you're running for that door. It's just like, you're gonna die if that house falls on you or get hurt. Pretty amazing feeling coming out of that door and still having your arms and legs and head. Maybe I put myself in situations where, it's not the best situation I should put myself in, but I'm not thinking like that at all. I'm thinking I'm gonna make this thing. I deal with the consequence when the consequence comes. The big wave thing ended up to change our whole life and our path of surfing forever.
That's one of the nice things about being a tow surfer is you work together as a team. I'm never gonna want to go put my wetsuit on, paddle out, and try to surf this 60-foot wave, I'm gonna want some support.
I'm thinking not only about myself and Skinny, but his daughter and his wife, and that's a pretty big responsibility. I surfed the day that Mark Fu died at Mavericks, and I saw him take off on a wave, and that someone of his caliber could die. That's scary.
That Mark Fu was a gross accident. Like, somebody should have been watching him. If there was a jet ski on the water that day with somebody that was trained by Brian, Fu would be surfing with us today. Everybody wants to surf, everybody wants to score killer waves, and they want to get the glory, but no one wants to think of the reality of when things go bad.
The future of big wave surfing isn't merely a function of technology. Its participants are diversifying too. It isn't just a man's world anymore.
The life with Lane, or I should say life in the fast lane. Yeah, my life was pretty simple, I think, before Lane. She was interested in tow surfing because it's just such an efficient way to go surfing, and she adopted it so rapidly, and such a competent person, such a intuitive surfer. That's what makes Lane such a great surfer. A lot like Brad Gerlach. They can see waves and feel waves that normal people can't.
As a competitor, it scares the daylights out of me, but that's what makes it so adrenalizing. It's the fear, I think, that draws you to it, but also makes you respect it. The change in women's surfing has just been phenomenal. You've seen the industry explode. You've seen the media explode along with it. Now you see all-girl surf videos, all-girl surf magazines. I mean, not once did I ever think I'd have a cover of a magazine, and now I've been on 5 in a year. I've got plenty of ideas of how to strengthen the sport, how to strengthen its identity, and how to allow women's surfing to grow outside of the box that it's conditionally kept in. There's a lot of junior talent that are going to be shining in many years to come, and we really need to support that growth and development. But in saying that, we can't neglect the older girls that have paved the way. The sport tends to have its champions and then chew them up and spit them out and say thanks for everything, see you later, the next girl's on her way. I guess the one thing about surfing is only a surfer knows the feeling. And when you're out there experiencing all these wonderful things in the ocean, it's nice to have someone to share it with that understands what you're going through. What have you shared with
Well, that getting pounded is not bad.
Yes,
Getting pounded is actually...
It's good practice.
It's good practice. I don't take any shit, right?
No, not much. Guaranteed some with me around. What it's made me realise is my affiliation for the water. And getting off a plane, the first thing I want to do is go jump in the surf. Personally, I still feel like I haven't peaked in my surfing ability yet. I still feel like I have several years left in me. What's next? What do I do after I've finished competing? As opposed to how many years do I really want to do this for? And I think, I want to do it forever.
Tahiti's amazing. It's just like paradise.
You got these huge mountains coming straight down into the ocean, and everything is just this lush green tropical white sand beaches and giant coral reefs.
Chopu in Tahiti, so the site of the annual Billabong Pro. This is going to be the Odyssey's next stop. We'd go there to help out with the water patrol, and we'd also be standing by in case the surf got too big to paddle.
It takes everything that you can draw back on your surfing career just to make it to the end of the wave.
This place is like the most amazing wave in the whole world. If you would ever create a surfing place, you would take the model of this place here, and that's it. It's like Beauty and the Beast, you know, when you drop down. It's such a beautiful wave, but the beast of the thing is so dangerous. The front of the wave is so huge, and it just sucks up. And the back of the wave, there is no back of the wave. It's the whole ocean behind that thing. It's a big wave on a shallow shelf with razor-sharp reefs. The risk out there is not just the surfers, but the boats, the swimmers, the kayakers, the grandmas, the grandpas, the babies, and everyone comes out there. It's like a full festival out there.
You know it's heavy when the best surfers in the world have a blank look on their face and every single guy in the event is fearing for their life.
This contest could change lives. It's kind of like getting ready to go to war. I wouldn't reckon that there's a single surfer who could say that he thoroughly enjoys paddling out a 10 to 12 foot chopu and thinks nothing of it. Yeah, I'm shitting myself.
Okay, we just got to go. We are ready to start.
I think some waves are just unrideable. Some are so big and so critical that the best surfers in the world aren't going.
Ladies and gentlemen, at the moment, we're getting pretty close to the limit of when these guys can paddle in.
This place has to have a lot of respect. There's a reason why the Tahitians call this place Te Auhopo, not just Chopo. Everybody calls Chopo. Chopo is a surf spot. Te Auhopo is broken skulls.
Seemed like every set was getting bigger and bigger. Guys were taking their leashes off and pushing their boards over the top and swimming through the sets. Just got to the point where no one was paddling into the set waves anymore. So we started to get the word from the contest organizers that they may cancel the event. It might be too big to paddle, and we had heard some of the locals, Raymana and Poto, were gearing up their skis and getting ready to tow.
After a certain size, there are limits to paddle surfing. You can't paddle that fast.
And you can come into it towing so much deeper. You're letting go at about 40 miles an hour, and you can go about 100 yards further up the reef than if you're paddling.
As tow-in surfing was once only an idea and is now allowing surfers to push the boundaries of the sport, Rush Randall and a group of futurists in Hawaii are busy imagining where surfing can go from here.
I grew up surfing, got into windsurfing because it had the aerial acrobatics that surfing didn't have at the time, as well as foot straps that basically kept you connected to the board. Board sports are cross-pollinating like crazy. Just like skateboarding influenced surfing in the beginning, windsurfing, snowboarding, and hang gliding technology are now influencing tow-in surfing. What I'm trying to do is create a whole new avenue of aerial surfing by having different sports at my fingertips and combining them. future of big wave surfing will not be on the boards we ride today. Today's boards barely handle the choppy surface of a 70-foot wave. The solution to the 100-foot problem lies in hydrodynamics. Dolphins are the hydrodynamic experts of the world. So we've studied how they use the wave's currents to propel themselves forward. This helped us develop the hydrofoil board that hovers just above the surface using the foil under the surface similar to a dolphin. You eliminate surface tension of any kind, creating a perfectly still ride. With the hydrofoil, we don't need to ride waves that break. In theory, just like a dolphin, you could ride a non-breaking swell for thousands of miles or more. And what you're seeing now with the hydrofoils is the beginning of the future of big wave riding. Whether or not it's small waves or big waves, it's all about having fun and taking it to the next level. All I can think about is doing something that nobody else has done before. Foot straps, jet skis, wave runners, whatever you want to call them, thrill crafts, are going to basically open up a whole new world of sports. The ocean is going to be the biggest playground in the world.
Waves, simply put, are caused by wind. Big waves are caused by more wind. Small waves by less wind. Sometimes you'll get storms that have 60, 70, 80 knot winds blowing over thousands of miles. And that's what it takes to create a really big swell. What you want is a storm that comes, heads towards whatever the reef is that you're going to surf, builds up this vicious sea state, then the storm veers away.
But then what you're really looking for is the right reef.
Different bottom contours, the bathymetry, is going to give a different factor of the growth of the wave. But we really don't know that much about the ocean floor. Maybe 3% of the ocean's floor has been mapped to the kind of resolution that we need to really look at it from a big wave riding standpoint. One of the few spots that we know a lot about lies about a half mile off the north coast of Maui. It's a place called Jaws. Hawaii gets some of the biggest swells in the world because it sits right in the middle of the Pacific. It's far away from any other landmass that would block a powerful swell. And Jaws has got one of the most perfect big wave reefs.
The reef faces directly into the swell. There's deep channels on either side, and that will focus all that energy. It's almost like a magnifying glass. As the swell comes in and rides up on that reef, it'll bend it and form it just like a piece of clay, thrusting the peak up to its maximum height potential.
It's the most perfect big wave spot in Hawaii. Word came that the Towing World Cup was on. We weren't going to miss a giant day at Jaws. And it was also going to be the first time that all the best towing surfers from around the world were together to compete in one spot on one day. Apart from Ken, none of our guys had ever surfed Jaws.
And everyone's freaking out, it's huge, and we started getting a little bit nervous, going, whoa, well, how big is it out there? You know, we hadn't even seen the lineup, and I really, truly thought to myself, you could very easily drown today.
Fear is the unknown. If you know enough and you had enough experience, fear is removed.
We've never been out there. We've never driven a ski out there. We've only seen an occasional video here and there. There's nobody out there going, okay, Jaws is that way.
We're on this little ski we're calling a hamster with 2 gas tanks, 2 boards each tied on, and the ski keeps almost stalling. There's only a couple days I can remember surfing where the waves in slow motion, it's so big. And then you look in the impact zone and you go, what would I do if I was caught right there? We're looking at this ski and looking at this situation just going, This is just borderline doable.
Jaws is so unusual, it's so unlike all the other spots in the world that actually exist. It's almost like the spot Teopu, where it's just so different than everything else. Even though it's still a barrel, it's still a wave, it has such unique characteristics, and you really get a feel for the magnitude of the place and the seriousness of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, aloha and welcome to the first ever Tow-In World Cup here on Maui. In case you're wondering, there are 2 teams in each heat, and you're judged on your best 3 waves. You surf a heat, then you drive a heat. Winner goes to the final. And it's just incredible out there. It's 40 to 50 feet, and believe it or not, it's going to get even bigger around lunchtime. Conditions are made even more difficult with the offshore breeze.
People have to understand that the wind factor is what makes it harder.
First up from the Billabong Odyssey, Mike Parsons and Brad Gerlach against Ken Bradshaw and Dan Moore.
It was so bouncy, and I could see myself eating it really easily. All of a sudden my edge caught and I almost fell in the worst spot you could fall. I remember going, I'm not falling, and then dropping my legs down as low as I possibly could be, and so I could handle taking bumps, you know? I didn't even think about doing it. It felt like I had the wrong board for the situation, that I wasn't gonna try to do any sort of turns or anything.
Jaws is just such a short ride. It's such an intense short ride. It's nothing like on the North Shore. So much turbulence, so much water moving, so compressed. The place is amazing.
Wow, there's Ken Bradshaw. At 49 years old, he still thrives on big waves. This is what he lives for, the adrenaline rush. Check out these waves. Those guys are going 35 miles per hour, and they're riding it at close to a vertical wave base. Brad Gerlach all the way to the outside.
For me, that's a goal for me. I want to get tubed on giant waves, and I want to do big, powerful cutbacks, and I want to express myself. It's a bigger place to do a turn, you know, and you're going faster. It's, oh man, some of the feelings, you know, when you're going that fast, you know, you can do things that you can't do when you're just regular surfing. I actually got a little bottom turn, and I came up and did a little top turn, and then like how'd you score? And I'm like, it was okay, but could have surfed a lot better.
Competition's never been a real focus in life. I really believe in etiquette and fair play and luck in this case. And I'm not a really good competitor. I've only won 1 event in my life, but I'm a good surfer.
Right now, it's the team of Dan Moore and Ken Bradshaw. Kenny Bradshaw will be surfing on this wave, Dan Moore will be driving. Once again, surf a heat, drive a heat, and here we go. Ken Bradshaw in great position, and he drops in on a monster of a wave. Critical positioning here at Jaws. This wave seems to be shifting west. A big, long, open face. Bradshaw with all those years of experience on the line right there. It's holding up for him, trying to get in the tube, trying to get covered up. What a hot wave for Bradshaw. Oh, unfortunately, Bradshaw goes down. Not how he wanted to finish that wave. As you can see, it's not real easy out there.
I do it for the passion. I don't do it for the money. If you took the money away tomorrow, I'd still be here. People keep asking me, how long can you keep taking the poundings, Ken? I don't know. I'm 49 now. I'm going to try for another 10 years.
Coming up, Heat 2, Josh Loya and Skin Dog Collins from Santa Cruz. They'll be surfing against Carlos Brulé and Geraldo Criaros from Brazil.
Everybody that is invited for the event, everybody has the ability to surf the wave. So it's going to be a tough competition.
I was confident with my jet ski and with our board.
In everybody's eyes, little heebie-jeebies, there were some anxieties running through everybody's minds because half the guys never been there before, and the other half knew that it was legit.
I'd never been there, had no idea what to expect, and that was my anxiety.
This is gonna be one of the biggest contests ever in the history of surfing.
Coming up, Geraldo Guerreros and Carlos Brule.
And these guys have been on our heels the first day we started towing. They were showing up at Mavericks.
We train at Mavericks a month before. I'm committed and I'll try to surf my best.
Look at this, a spectacular wave for Geraldo Guerreros. Speed. Positioning.
When that heat started and that first set came along and we saw that Carlos and Geraldo got that first wave, they pretty much set the stage. I was like, it's on.
Okay, next up it's Skin Dog Collins and Josh Loya. This team is very talented and they seem to have no fear.
It's like snowboarding down a mountain with somebody setting off avalanches behind you and it's moving 50 miles an hour.
Here's Skin Dog Collins, veteran big wave rider out of Mavericks, which is out of Northern California. Here in Hawaii, he's wearing a full wetsuit. I'm thinking he's using all that rubber as body armor. And what a beautiful wave.
In the first heat, I saw Skin Dog catch this first beautiful wave, huge wave. We were lucky at Mavericks, we got the biggest waves. I think he wanted to kick our ass.
That was killer.
Carlos and Geraldo rounding the buoy. The Brazilians have priority. Over.
It's intense feeling. It's very good after you do it, you know. It's very good for your soul.
I knew that if we wanted to be in the same game with these guys, we had to take it up a notch. If I don't try to pull into a tube over here, I'm gonna kick myself in the ass when I go home.
He lets go of the rope. I don't think I was putting him too deep. He looked like he knew what he was doing.
And I just kept fading and fading. At one point, I'm like, oh, I'm getting tubed, like it or not. I'm way deep.
Got her hurt. Yeah, roger that, rescue 1.
I don't even know what happened till it was over, but it was definitely one of the most brutal beatings I've ever taken in my life.
It was one of the worst wipeouts during the contest, you know. To pull inside the barrel at Jaws, he was really pushing the limit.
When I finally came up, I was so dizzy, I was cross-eyed, and I was so stoked to see Josh coming up at that moment. I just didn't care about anything, I just wanted to get out of there, and that was it, I was done.
weather buoys predicted, the swell has really picked up. The ground is starting to shake. It looks like it's going to be redlining around 60 feet. Mike Parsons versus Carlos Brule. Each team had a scorching first heat, but this promises to be the heat of the day.
We are going to try to do our best, and I think we are ready.
To me, it looks like you can certainly get the biggest tube of your life, and if you get caught on that wave or wipe out, it looks like one of the gnarliest waves in the world and one of the worst places to eat it.
So I drive out, and then we go over this first one, and I think we went over another one. I think it was the third wave. We're just going for the mondo. And I'm looking down the line, and I'm just thinking, don't put him in so deep. So I guess I better start moving over this way. So I'm looking back, but he's already let go, and I'm like,
Oh, boy, did Gerlach drop him in too deep, or is Parsons going for glory?
Got towed into this wave a little bit too deep, and I straightened off, and all I was thinking the whole time I straightened off, okay, here we go, this is gonna be the wipe out of your life, guaranteed. You know, I got a 50-foot wave that's gonna go straight through me right now.
We got a problem up here, Air 2, over.
I was getting tumbled and rolled and rolled and rolled, and I tried to just relax and just focus on when I was a little kid and just try to completely distract my mind from the fact that I'm not coming up until the wave lets me up.
And there he is, Mike Parsons down in the pit. We've spotted him. This is the world's heaviest impact zone, not a good place to fall. The situation is critical, as now Brad Gerlach is the one expected to rescue him, and it's hard for the jet ski to hook up in the boiling cauldron of whitewater. And as for Mike Parsons, keep your head above water and stay in your survival mode.
I got dragged 150 yards underwater. If you think that you're going to get yourself out of those situations, you're dreaming.
dude, the look in his eyes is like, oh, it's so heavy.
I saw Mike Parsons on the sled. He looked like he was over. He looked like he was beat up, you know.
When you get pounded in a wave like that size, you can just destroy your heat. Big wave event is just like that.
Carlos has just got this killer wave come through, and I'm just thinking, man, I know Mike can beat this guy.
And the scores are in. It's a 9.0, the highest scoring wave ride of the day.
But at that moment, I really didn't care at all about the contest. The swell was peaking. I realized that, you know, this is the day and this is the time to go for it.
Check it out. On the far outside, we've got another set coming. Let's see. Yes, it is critical, and it is absolutely huge.
You know, I was in deep enough water, I came up screaming at Brad, that thing was insane. I think I just got a huge score, man. That wave was incredible. This is the best wave I've ever surfed. It was just like so much adrenaline. Like I was freaking.
But I'm looking over at kind of all the other boats in the crowd, and they're all going, yeah, like this, and I'm going, he really must have done something sick, you know? It was unreal.
Congratulations to our winner, Garrett McNamara, and to Mike Parsons for what seemed to be the wave of the century. And all our competitors, congratulations for surviving one of the most epic days in surfing history.
In my whole surfing career, I've only gotten a 10-point ride and one other time. And here, all of a sudden, at Jaws, the first time I've ever been there, you know, I caught the ride of my life.
For Mike to have come back from that hideous wipeout and then score a perfect 10 on one of the craziest waves in surfing history is just a triumph.
That day was very special. That day was something that everybody's gonna remember forever.
I felt like it was 30 years of surfing all coming together in that one moment, and that feeling of pulling up into that wave and getting spit out of it, I'll never forget as long as I live.
I'm just amazed at how fast big wave surfing continues to evolve, even since we began the Odyssey. It's only been 2 winters now, but things have changed more in that time than they did in the last 30 years. We found waves that no surfer had ever seen before, like the hollow wave in Australia we named Cyclops, after the beast in Homer's Odyssey. We've had new surfers join us, including Hawaiian Shane Dorian. After years at the top of the tour, he's given it all up to join us in our chase. We've been back to Cortez Bank and remain the only surfers to have challenged its open ocean danger. And the boys even had their naked butts in Vanity Fair magazine. More importantly, the team hasn't missed putting on a show at any of the big days, be it Toto Santos, Mavericks, or an amazing November swell at Jaws that set new levels of performance. Mike and Brad especially were right in the thick of things. Brad even took his first epic wipeout and lived to tell the tale. There were amazing tubes, like the one that Garrett McNamara nailed. And who could forget 18-year-old Makua Rothman, who took the wave of the day and announced the future of the sport. The day also set a new standard for close calls and equipment carnage. Every tube ride, every wipeout, every rescue, every jet ski smashed into little pieces on the rocks, it all adds to our experience in big waves. And all that benefits big wave riders around the world. And all of it helps us to continue to prepare for what's ahead.
Magic comes down to just being out in the water and just being someplace where there aren't a lot of other humans. Getting close to Mother Nature when it rears its beautiful head.
This has just been an unreal experience. We trained, we searched, and we found some of the biggest waves on the planet. And this is really just the beginning.
I don't know if the world really realizes how many waves exist out there that can be accessed, because there's still a world out there to be ridden.
It's not some corpo thing we're doing. I mean, we're doing it because we love it.
Surfing's dancing on water. It's living your dream.
I'm just in the game just to have fun and just to, you know, try to do things that people don't think are possible to do.
We're not talking Bigfoot or Loch Ness Monster. These aren't theories. These aren't just ideas. It's fact. The biggest wave, it's just right out the back door. We just need to find it.
big wave surfing has spread from the beaches of Hawaii to the shores of Northern California. With the inception of big wave contests and the influential use of jet skis to aid in towing into big waves, combined with the advent of wave forecasting and weather tracking, fearless watermen have rewritten the rules of surfing and crossed the limits in a quest for the largest wave. For the world premiere of Billabong Odyssey, a movie 2 years in the making. The Billabong Odyssey is an expedition to search out the biggest waves in the world. From the vicious barrels of Chopu, Tahiti, to newly discovered reefs in Australia, France, and Spain, this movie chronicles expeditions to exotic locations around the world, usually at a moment's notice. Never before has the scope and power of the ocean been captured on film. All of the film stars are going to be here tonight, but first, let's take a sneak peek at the movie.
Big wave surfing.
These guys are the best big wave surfers in the world.
It's the most challenging.
We're the Delta Force of surfing.
Most dangerous.
This is the fastest I've ever been on a surfboard.
Most extreme surfing in the world.
Surfing is the easy part. Surviving is the hard part.
Welcome to the Billabong Odyssey.
Someone might ride the biggest wave in the history of mankind. What's he gonna get, a pat on the back? I came up with this idea of let's have a surf contest, goes all winter long, and whoever rides the biggest wave is gonna be the winner.
No one's ever flown with planes and helicopters looking for perfect big waves.
This is gonna be one of the biggest contests ever in the history of surfing.
This fall, get ready.
Definitely the most brutal beating I've ever taken.
For the ride of your life.
No man has ever surfed these waves.
It's like snowboarding down a mountain with somebody setting off avalanches behind you.
You know it's heavy when the best surfers in the world have a blank look on their face. Someone's gonna ride a 100-foot wave. 100 foot's just a number.
Billabong Odyssey.
One of the stars of Billabong Odyssey. Mike, I got a little sneak peek tonight, and I saw that wipeout in slow-mo, and you're my new hero.
Yeah, it was a pretty exciting day at Jaws. The whole movie's just been really fun. The last couple years, we've been running around the globe on a minute's notice, trying to chase down these swells, and we've been having a really good time. We've discovered some new waves around the world, and the whole movie's just been an incredible project. Continuing on this search, looking for all these new waves and places to surf big waves around the world. So really exciting time in surfing, and the movie came out fantastic. I was pretty happy when I saw it.
Now, do you freak out like when you see yourself on TV, on trailers for a movie that's actually coming out in the theaters for the general public to see?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, the first time I saw a surf movie when I was in high school in a theater, I just thought, oh my God, it'd be incredible to be in a surf movie and be on a big screen, and sort of a dream come true, the whole project. And yeah, I definitely couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, is that me? Definitely gave me chills to watch it on the big screen. I was pretty stoked.
Well, tell us a little bit about Brad Gerlach, your tow partner. I know you guys grew up together. You were rivals growing up, though, and now your lives are in each other's hands. How's that?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Me and Brad started competing against each other when we were really young, and we were kind of fierce rivals. He was from San Diego, I was from Laguna Beach, and every time I competed against Brad, he was this cocky little kid that I couldn't stand, and he couldn't stand me. And we developed this rivalry, and I always wanted to beat him, and he wanted to beat me. And over time, we just kind of got used to each other. We did the tour together, and when Brad was going for the world title, he was #2 in the world. And even at that point, we were still really heavy rivals. And After that, a mutual friend of ours, Taylor Knox, was friends with Brad and real good friends with me, and we started all going to Totos together. So me and Brad were kind of, you know, stuck together, so we had to start getting along. And next thing you know, we found out like we had all these things in common, and we started really enjoying each other's company, and we respected the rivalry that we had. And over time, you know, we became really good friends, and now he's one of my best 2 or 3 friends in the world. And yeah, I risked my life with him in big surf and trust him to come in and try to rescue me, and I'll do the same for him. And it's a really cool feeling becoming such good friends with someone, and at such a young age, I couldn't stand the guy.
Now, normally surfing's an individual sport, and with tow-in surfing, you guys are a team, and you guys are always looking out for each other. How is that with working with Mike?
It's good. You know, I really trust Mike, and you know, I really care a lot about Mike. He's one of my best friends, and so I'm concerned for him all the time. And if something bad happens, then, you know, I'm prepared to go in, and he is too, and we'll go in, we'll get him.
It's all about safety, and I know, like, with tow-in surfing, you never have time to think. It's all like seconds and feet is what they say, because everything happens so fast.
You have to call on your years of wave judgment because of trying to hunt the right wave down, and it's up to you, and you're like, oh, this is a good one, this isn't a good one, you know, and you have to predict that, you know, with the waves pretty far out to sea. It hasn't even really hit the reef yet, so you're kind of more or less looking at the swell direction and the set and that kind of stuff. So as you're towing into the wave, you know, when you're holding onto the rope, you're like, okay, let's see. And you're trying to look down there like, is this a good one? That's one of the scariest things, is when you do let go of the rope, is where are you? Hopefully, if you're in someplace gnarly, you can surf your way out of it.
You guys train like incredible, like to be able to survive those wipeouts.
We surf a lot, and I know I can hold my breath for a super long time, and I go into a full-on relax mode when I eat it. Let the wave deal with you, and then you come up, you know?
Well, congratulations, and I'm really proud of you guys. It's nice to see all the boys up on the big screen, so go take a peek. Well, the stars of this movie have been putting it all on the line for the last 2 years, and for some of them, tonight is their first chance to see the finished product. Let's take a quick look at the Billabong Odyssey.
We hear about Mavericks. That was in '91. There was a whole different world to explore.
What is the heaviest? What is the biggest? And what is the most deadliest? Mavericks is definitely the coldest, spookiest, creepiest. You show up there, any swell, and there's just lights, camera, action, noise, distractions, people. Mavericks is such a circus. That is the show right there.
Welcome back. We're at the world premiere for the Billabong Odyssey. I'm Jody Nelson, and we're outside at the theater on the red carpet checking out all the action. But earlier, we sat down with the man responsible for the entire expedition, Bill Sharp.
I've always been fascinated by big waves. It probably began when I started surfing in Newport Beach at the Wedge, which is, back then, you know, was one of the biggest waves in California, which seems kind of silly now. And it's something that, you know, as I got older, I remained interested in it, and I got to know guys like Mike Parsons and Brad Gerlach, and we were on the NSSA national team together. And it's just something that's always been something of interest to me, and you know, I maintained it throughout. You know, I worked at Surfing Magazine, and you know, we did a lot of big wave adventures at that point in time. And then I came up with some ideas for some big wave contests, the K2 Big Wave Challenge, the Double XL, and ultimately it all pointed towards the Billabong Odyssey, which is the idea of going out into the world and searching it for the biggest waves that might exist out there and riding them. Big waves is all about adrenaline. It's coming up against a much more powerful force than you know, any human being in the waves that are so big that they can, could kill you in the wrong situation. It might be sometimes difficult for the average couch potato in Kansas to really appreciate some of the subtleties of, small wave surfing and this little turn versus that little aerial. But when you put a guy on a wave with a 60-foot face and he just looks like a microscopic ant, anyone who's been to the shore and been tumbled by a 3-foot wave against their will can immediately, get a sense of what a, incredible situation that guy's put himself into and what he's facing if he doesn't make it. The Billabong Odyssey was an idea that I had to fuse that notion of riding the biggest wave possible with, one of the other things about surfing that I think is one of its most attractive components is that sense of adventure, going out and searching and finding the perfect wave. And for a lot of us that came into surfing, after the day of the endless summer, so many of the great little waves around this world, had been found. But the world has been searched for 6-foot waves, but no one's gone out there and searched for 60-foot waves. And so when you combine the two, that idea of going out there to search the world for these waves that, just a few years ago no one imagined existed, but now we're finding all over the place. It's just like, a golden era of surfing. We're constantly in a race against time because once we know the swell's coming, it's going to be there at a certain hour and it's not going to wait for us. So it was important to come up with a group of surfers that obviously were very skilled big wave riders. They were also very competent from a safety standpoint, and also guys that are going to get along. So I began with a number of guys that I'd known from previous trips. Mike Parsons and Brad Gerlach, had really shown their teamwork, and ability to not get too stressed out about stuff. I mean, the Flea and Barney, who are classic characters from Santa Cruz, getting by on instinct. Those guys just automatically know the ocean. They might not be the most strategic guys of all time, but they're really just once they're in the water, they know exactly where they are. Skin Dog and Loya, the other Santa Cruz guys, are really the same way. You get them out there in big waves and they immediately know what to do. And they're good guys to be with on land. And perhaps most importantly, they know how to tell a story. I mean, that's really something that big waves is about, being able to describe it to people and share that experience. And I think all the surfers involved in the Odyssey are really good at that. From the beginning, this was meant to be the most ambitious surf movie ever made, and it was, from the beginning meant to be shot in mediums that had never been used in surfing before. The high-definition cameras, high-speed 35mm, things that, are not part of your typical surf DVD that you get at the surf shop. We're on this quest for a 100-foot wave, but that's just a number, and it's not really. Sooner or later, someone's going to ride a 100-foot wave. They don't occur every day, but more importantly, I think we're going to go through this progression. Guys are routinely now, every winter, the last couple of years, riding waves that are 60 or 70 feet on the face, as big as it comes. No one's backed down from a wave in years, and that's pretty amazing. So now it's just a matter of waiting for Mother Nature to really do something superlative. So in a lot of ways, the Odyssey has only begun. Now we sort of know where we need to be, and it's just a matter of sooner or later, that famous perfect storm is once again going to form out in one of those oceans, and the perfect swell is going to take aim on one of these spots. And we're going to be there and try to go out there and ride the biggest wave that's ever been ridden. And it's something that I think is probably unique in the world of human endeavor. I mean, Mount Everest was climbed in 1953, and that's the end of the road. That's it. It's done. But, you could go out and ride a wave this winter that's, 80 feet or 90 feet or 100 feet, but no matter what, there's always that opportunity that next year or next month or tomorrow, there'll be a bigger swell and a bigger wave. So there is no finish line in this game of riding big waves.
Well, in the flesh and on the red carpet, project director Bill Sharp. Bill, how does it feel to see your labor of love up on the big screen?
Oh, fine. I mean, it's like having a baby, but far worse. I mean, instead of 9 months, this has been 2 years in the making. So finally tonight, it's an amazing feeling to see, what was just a zany idea come, to fruition and, be depicted on the big screen. I can't wait to see it.
So, Bill, tell us, what's the difference between this movie and a typical surf movie?
Well, I mean, just the scope of this film is far beyond anything that's ever been attempted in the surf world before.
just the budget. I mean, with the expeditions to go out there looking for the waves, and then the budget to document it on 35 millimeter, high-speed film and high definition. It's never been attempted before, and so from a technical standpoint, it's far bigger than anything that's ever been done before. But I think what it really does a good job of is capturing, what goes on in the minds and the hearts of these guys that are out there trying to ride 60, 70-foot waves. And I think it does it in a way that, works for the hardcore surfer. He's going to be stoked to see, these guys doing this. But I think it also will appeal to the mainstream audience. So I think it's really something that's going to work for all audiences.
We'll be right back with more from the world premiere of the Billabong Odyssey. But first, check out this clip from the film on your way out.
This place has to have a lot of respect. There's a reason why the Tahitians call this place Te Auhopo, not just Chopo. Everybody calls Chopo. Chopo is a surf spot. Te Auhopo is broken skulls.
On the red carpet. Skin Dog, this is your hometown. You've been surfing here for years. How does it feel to have yourself on the big screen in your hometown?
Oh man, this is crazy. I came around the corner and saw this whole production and got kind of scared. I'm stoked. This is unreal. I'm stoked everybody's here.
Now, I know you guys worked really hard throughout the last 2 years, and you guys put a lot on the line. You had a big wipeout at Jaws. Tell us a little bit about that.
Just part of the job. It's not planned. It happens. You do it long enough, you're going to have a wipeout. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to do this regardless, and I love it. I'm just stoked that people are getting into it and stoked. I'd like to see a lot more people get involved and have some big events.
Well, Barney, I know you grew up with a lot of these guys that you're in the movie with, and you guys probably grew up as Groms surfing the lane and all that. And now you guys are traveling around the world, towing in and searching out for the biggest waves in the world. That must be an insane feeling.
It's fun. I mean, it's incredible, Sometimes we get on each other's nerves because we know each other so well, but besides that, we push each other, so that's the cool thing about it.
I'm here on the red carpet with Josh Loya, one of the stars of the movie. You guys do this for the love of surfing. That must be rewarding to be able to sit back and see that on the big screen.
No, for sure it is. Just to, be able to record all this stuff and document it, and then have it turn into something this big, and so many people are interested in watching it and seeing it. That's a pretty cool thing.
Let's take a look at what local boy Flea had to say about Mavs.
When you're pulling up into a barrel of Mavericks and you're in there and you're seeing this thing shaking over you, and you're like, oh, Mac, and all of a sudden it's like an earthquake and the house is falling down. There's only one open door, and there it is. You're like, oh, you're running for that door. It's just like, you're gonna die if that house falls on you or get hurt. Pretty amazing feeling coming out of that door and still having your arms and legs and head. Maybe I put myself in situations where, it's not the best situation I should put myself in, but I'm not thinking like that at all. I'm thinking I'm gonna make this thing. I deal with the consequence when the consequence comes. The big wave thing ended up to change our whole life and our path of surfing forever.
Well, I just grabbed Flea. This project, Billabong Odyssey, is to find waves that have never been ridden before. That's a pretty big privilege right there.
Oh, definitely. I mean, someone pays you to go around the world and try to find the biggest waves, and you know what I mean, the 100-foot wave or whatever. Pretty insane to get paid to do it, you know what I mean?
Carpet with the director of the Billabong Odyssey, Philip Austin. Philip, you guys worked on this film, searching around the world for the biggest waves for the last 2 years. How does it feel to finally have your labor of love up on screen?
I don't know. I never thought it was going to happen, and it finally has. So it's quite an achievement. It was a colossal task. Calling it the Odyssey was definitely was the right name for it. It really was an Odyssey, and I think we got some of the best images ever filmed. The crew and people risked their lives to get these images, and it's just really great that that we've all pulled together and actually got the thing and got it up on screen. So yeah, I'm thrilled. Who wouldn't be? Yeah.
Thanks for sticking around, you guys. You've been watching the world premiere of the Billabong Odyssey, out in theaters now. I hope you guys got pumped up watching the biggest waves in the world conquered on film. Once again, I'm Jody Nelson, and we'll see you out in the water.